Welcome to the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. We're going to explore ways to sharpen our diagnostic skills, find learning resources, and hear from experts in the automotive field. Hey, have you ever been faced with the challenge of sourcing, installing, and programming a used control module in a vehicle? I know a lot of us have. It seems to be happening more and more often today with the volume of control modules on vehicles, the cost of some new ones, or even the availability of new control modules. In some cases, used may be the only option. So what do you do here? I strongly recommend checking out SJ Auto Solutions and Tommy Oliva. Tommy offers a cloning service for used control modules to make these things plug and play for the vehicle that you're working on. In a lot of cases, he is also able to source the control modules if you're unable to locate one for the vehicle that you're working on. But once you get connected with Tommy, he's going to offer fantastic support from start to finish to make sure that that control module is going to work in your application. He's also got tech support that he offers through his website, along with some free resources there as well on information about used control module programming. So make sure to check out SJ Auto Solutions. I can't recommend that enough. I am happy to have Automotive Seminars as a sponsor for the show. Now, if you're not familiar, Automotive Seminars is a diagnostic technician training company. They've got a website that there'll be a link to in the show notes. And what they offer is top-notch training to technicians like us in the field. I've been taking their training courses for years and have got a ton of benefit out of it. They've got top-notch instructors, John Thornton, Scott Shotton, Scott Manna, and every other month they've got a 2-night course that you can sign up for. Join in, ask questions, and afterwards, you've paid for the course, you can access a recorded version whenever you want. You can rewatch the class 2 years later in case you wanted some details on it, and that is a fantastic feature. So make sure to check out the website to see what courses they have available and what's coming up in the future. Hey, what's going on, automotive world? Welcome to another episode of the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. My name is Sean Tipping. I'll be your host once again for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me. Today on the show, I've got Yaron Saghiv. Yaron is the Chief Marketing Officer of a company called UVeye, and that's eye like your eyeball. And it is a company that's developed a digital inspection service for vehicles. It's actually a drive-through camera system that's installed at dealerships and other automotive service facilities that does a 360 digital inspection of the vehicle in seconds. As fast as you can drive through it, it's going to get pictures all around and underneath the vehicle. And then it's going to use some pretty cool AI technology to assess the images and the inspection for the vehicle for the technician, the service writer, and the customer. So it's really cool stuff. I got to experience it in person. So we'll talk a little bit about that, about the systems and everything, but then also about the integration of AI in a lot of different areas in the automotive world right now and in the future. So pretty cool stuff. But with that out of the way, let's jump in. Well, good evening, sir. How are you doing tonight?
Doing pretty well. Thank you. We just came back from a couple of very big events. Yeah, all good.
Awesome. Good to hear. Yeah. Thank you for reaching out and sharing the information that you did so far and hooking me up with going to check out the products that you guys have. That's pretty cool stuff. I thought we could kind of start out with, you can tell me about yourself, what you do, and then a little bit about your company too. And we can just kind of take it from there and see where it goes.
Sure. So my name is Yaron Saghiv. I'm the chief marketing and one of the partners at a company called UVeye. And we were actually, I would say, the first company in the world to successfully create a fully automatic inspection device for vehicles. And you can picture it almost like an MRI for cars. Actually, originally from Israel, which is unfortunately not great days there, but our hearts and minds are over there, and also a lot of our product team. Uh, and yeah, we actually for the last I would say 7 years we've been developing scanners and devices based on AIs, on artificial intelligence and deep learning, installed today in a few hundred dealerships across the United States, in car auctions like CarMax, and fleets like Amazon that was announced last week. And basically, we managed to bring a really practical use of AI to scan vehicles below and around and find mechanical issues and make the roads a safer place and give a much better service to car consumers.
And this is like a visual inspection of the vehicle, right? Of the exterior and underneath, like camera systems that are going to be looking at the vehicle as it goes through.
Sure. So if you can imagine, it's kind of like an MRI station, which is comprised of three main products. There's an underbody scanner that goes below. So it's kind of a plate on the ground, whether it's flushed or a bit above, with several cameras and lighting. There are boxes on the sides, both sides of the vehicle, which are called Artemis. That are tire scanners, both for the sidewall and the tread angle. And then there is kind of an arc with lights, which looks really cool. And I like to say almost like an Apple Store experience or feel when you get through it. That arc kind of takes thousands of images, 360 degrees around the vehicle. And can get us a really good glimpse of body damage or anything that is potentially wrong around below the vehicle or the tire situation.
Yeah, and I mean, you can share, some of the uses as far as inspections go and stuff. But one of the first things I thought of when I saw the pictures of the car, how you got everything documented right there. As I worked as a tech for a long time, for a number of different shops, and every so often you'd have a customer come back and say, "Hey, that chip in my windshield wasn't there before, or that scratch on my rim wasn't there before," right? And obviously, hey, stuff does happen, but there's times where it's like, all we did was an oil change, right? Or maybe we really don't know, like, did we cause that, right? And having something to actually go back and have the picture of the vehicle as it pulled into the shop, that would obviously get you out of a bind, or I don't know, maybe prove that you did do it. I don't know. But I would have liked to have had that a couple times working at Firestone for sure.
So I think what you touched is really good. So we kind of had a really nice story on how we got to where we are today. And I think one of the things we discovered along the line are things like what you call policy or goodwill, or kind of understanding the condition of the vehicle at every single point. And it was that enhancing the customer experience, making everything much more transparent, right? And understanding which damage the vehicle has and kind of when it happened, and really aiding the technicians, whether it's for avoiding these kind of claims, but also focusing their time and efforts. And obviously, we know there's a big technician shortage, on where they need to focus. But I actually want to take you. It's a nice connection for me to take you a bit back, because if we look at the start of our company, we started in 2016. Okay, so we started from a very different market. We started by trying to look for bombs below vehicles. So I'm sure that you would imagine that in Israel there's a very well-developed kind of homeland security industry. And we developed a scanner, which is the same one you have today for oil leaks, water leaks, broken parts below. So almost like a virtual lift, if you think about it.
Okay.
That originally was, its sole purpose was to take thousands of images below a car once you drive in the entrance to a seaport, an airport, embassy, sensitive site at the access control point, and then kind of reconstruct that area and using AI know to detect anomalies, meaning things that shouldn't be there, like a gun or drugs or an improvised IED. And fast forward, we understood training this AI and building these devices that the same kind of methodology of reconstructing those different components, right? There's not many tier one companies in the world. You can drive a Nissan or a Mazda and it has the same exhaust pipe. So we understood that if we kind of teach this algorithm how the different components look like, and it can find detections or anomalies like a plastic bag, it can also find an oil leak or a broken part. And that took us towards automotive. We wanted to add more devices, which gave us the tires angles, the exterior. And then with a first service in mind of selling more services, being more transparent with customers, and then things like what you said, which is finding unnecessary claims or damage that, wasn't necessarily done. That's kind of a byproduct. So is appraisals. There's a lot of other things we discovered along the way that you can do with this. So that's kind of a nice connection.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That started out as a safety aspect of finding bombs and stuff like that under vehicles. So are these things installed in an outside location? I would imagine if you got a lot of traffic, you can't be pulling vehicles inside, so that they're outside and just cars are going to drive through them at a secure point, or how does that work?
So actually our devices today are installed in a couple of hundred dealerships, and they have to be covered somehow. That is because if you think about what we do, we have devices around and below the vehicle that take these pictures. It knows how to differentiate between rain, snow, mud, and kind of clear that and find the mechanical issues using the AI. But if you have raindrops between the camera and between the tire sidewall, for example, that might mess up the scan. So we try and make sure that it's covered. It can be covered by a canopy or a tent or something temporary. The truth is that in most car dealerships today, we are actually installed at the service lane, a lot of times more than one. So even you could imagine 2 or 3 lanes with these scanners, with a green traffic light, big sign saying you're about to be scanned, pull through, stay centered. You can drive in theory up to 15 miles an hour through. You don't need to stop. And just one after each other, people get scanned. And on the other end, whether it's the parking or a porter or someone waiting for them several seconds later, they're usually greeted by an advisor in a big screen telling them what's potentially wrong with their vehicle.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. What does the training process look like in order to, like you were saying, obviously the exhaust is going to be different, and I'm thinking Minnesota, there's a big chunk of ice or snow underneath the vehicle. How does that work to get the learning systems to understand, hey, this is normal, this is not normal, this is a chunk of ice, this is an oil leak? Is it just putting through thousands and thousands of vehicles and correcting them, or how does that work to train a system like that?
So there's 2 approaches. One is a more classic, what's called machine learning in AI. Machine learning is based on a catalog, meaning you have a catalog of all the cats in the world. Okay, a ginger cat, a black cat, a Siamese cat, a white cat, whatever it is, and then you throw it into some kind of an algorithm, and you say if you see any of these equals white cat or Siamese cat. The second approach, and that in that case, which is a bit difficult in what we do, if you imagine, we would have needed to have all the vehicles, all the models, all the submodels, all the makes, all the types, all the issues, all the different types of leaks, different types of diameters, sizes in some brain, and say if equals exactly that or similar, give us back. So that's actually not the approach that we took. The approach that we took is what's called deep learning. Deep learning is some kind of black box. where you define something called semantic segmentation. Semantic segmentation meaning, without getting too technical, but if we look at the underbody of a vehicle, right? The chassis, the exhaust, the muffler, the different components are usually situated in the same place, okay? EVs are a bit different, they're covered, but that's fine. But if we talk about components and kind of doing kind of a wireframe of where everything belongs. And once you do that kind of wireframe and you feed your algorithm, in our case, we probably took every single rental car in Israel and drove it over this device. And once you kind of assume where these components are, if you show it enough components, because there's, as I said earlier, not a lot of tier one companies, right? You could be driving a Toyota or a Mazda and they'll have the same exhaust pipe, right? Because the same tier one companies create a lot of the same components to different makes and models. So once we saw enough exhaust pipes, we could, for a very high, I would say, sensitivity, assume that we threw that into that black box and told it according to where it thinks it is to reconstruct the exhaust pipe according to the size, the texture, the color, the depth, those kind of things. And then when it saw a picture of another exhaust pipe, it compares it to the reconstruction of this deep learning black box. And if they're the same or a bit dissimilar, you start saying in some sensitivities equals anomaly. Once you see, 5,000, 10,000 leaks, you would say, maybe with the person sitting down and clicking, equals oil leak, equals rust, equals broken. And in that way, that black box, that deep learning engine, we don't know how it learns, but it learns the different variables. And then in our case, it's applying AI with computer vision, that this art of analyzing images, with deep learning to understand different components on the vehicle and different potential issues that they could have.
Yeah, when I've been doing a lot of reading and research on AI and the language models specifically, but they talk about a lot of these systems where they can't exactly define how things work behind the curtains. They have a general idea and they can give you some ideas of how this is working, but they're not like 100% sure how everything's happening behind the scenes, which is pretty crazy. So I got to imagine there's probably some challenges along the way. And I'm just thinking, like, if you drove a bunch of BMWs over this thing, right, they're always leaking oil. So it's going to think, well, that's normal. This BMW is fine. But in all honesty, like, what was some of the big challenges in creating something like this? Or what were some of the roadblocks that you came up against?
So it's been a very long journey. I mean, we've been doing this, as you know, we were originally not car guys, although I think 7 years and working with some of the biggest manufacturers in the world and a hell of a lot of dealerships and fleets and auctions. I think we've got quite a bunch of mileage. And as time went by, I think that we had, first of all, objective challenges. When we pivoted from Homeland Security to Automotive, it was a really good idea in theory, right? It was a great idea to say, let's drive vehicles over or through a device, take these images off it, have it model and make agnostic because it's based on deep learning, teach it safety issues, mechanical issues, exterior issues, cosmetic issues, right? And have it spit out or input or output us what it is in high probability or what deserves attention. It's a really cool idea, but between that and actually adapting it to a real world use case or ecosystem like a car dealership, there were a lot of steps. So I'll give you one example. When we started working in the States, which is just over, I would say, more than 3 years ago, our first pilots and stores were, some was Volvo, because Volvo are one of our investors in the Northeast, but a lot of them in Cleveland, Ohio, and a bit in Kentucky and Indiana, but mainly Ohio. And no one told us that it rains and snows like 80% of the year in Cleveland.
Sure.
And we started getting tread depth readings, right? Because the tire scanners knows how to read tread depth on the tread valleys. We calculate the shadows there and tell you how, if the tread depth requires is worn out, or uneven wear, or foreign objects, or those kind of things. But when it started seeing a lot of rain and snow, it messed up the algorithm, and it wasn't precise. And we would do the penny test versus the machine all the time to see that our algorithm is calibrated. So that was a very big challenge to actually adapt it to any type of condition and weather or climate. And that worked. We did a good job, I think, and our accuracy is really high today. And another challenge that I can tell you is also kind of the skepticism around process at dealerships. Dealerships are used to doing things in very certain ways, right?
For sure.
I mean, there's a lot of progress. I think the automotive industry is very forthcoming, very progressive, adopting technology, wanting to find AI tools and other things to make everybody's life better, but still very skeptical, doing things in a certain way for a long time, sometimes mistrusting technology, being a bit cynical about it, or not sure it does a good enough job as a person maybe would have done. And in order to fine tune this and make sure that on one hand, we are enhancing people, we are giving them time to do more important things, but we're also an integral part of the process. This inspection that you drive through and shows you what is potentially wrong. It doesn't replace a person saying what is wrong. It just aids them to make the discussion much more transparent. And for us to understand what are the places that the service advisor, the used car manager, the technician, the general manager, the F&I manager, those folks, everyone with their own kind of position at a dealership, what type of the process is the best place for them to see these scans and to use it, and how they should. That's something we are continuously improving every day.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Just knowing a lot of the people in the automotive industry and being in the industry for a long time, it's very common to see, hey, this is the way we've always done it. It works, and that's the way we're going to keep doing it. And that's what you hear from a lot of people throughout the industry. And I guess, honestly, like if I was running a dealership or I was working in a dealership as a technician, I think one of my first reactions to something like this, that's essentially doing the initial inspection for me, is like, hey, you're taking work away from me, right? As a tech, that would probably be my gut reaction as a guy working in the Bay, is like, hey, I'm getting paid to do that inspection right now, and now this machine is going to do that for me. I imagine you probably heard some stuff like that as you were getting the stuff out there.
So actually to date, and that's installing close to 300 systems in the States, working with biggest car manufacturers in the world, not only at dealerships, but also at, manufacturing plants at the end of the assembly line, and also, as I mentioned, fleets and car auctions. We've never seen it replace people once. It just never happened. We always found inspection to either be something that no one wants to do, or is non-consistent and done, each time a bit in a different way. A lot of the statistics of the car manufacturers around the multi-point inspection is that people just do it each time differently according to how they feel that day, or the equipment they have, or whatever it is. And what we found is that if there is a quick way to, like a triage, right? You go to the hospital, you have a quick triage, and then the doctor can say, okay, this is where I need to focus. This is where I see there's some kind of residual fluid here, this area of the engine. I'm going to go have a look there. I'm going to further inspect into that. And when you have the conversation with the customer, even before, saying, well, there might be something there, our technicians are going to have a look at it, and later on we'll update you. It's a very different conversation, and we feel like, especially with the shortage of technicians in the industry today, right, that everyone are looking for really good technicians, it just focuses everybody's time on things that are much more important to do.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that. And everybody's kind of switched to or a lot of shops have switched to the digital inspections anyways. And a lot of that's done at the technician level, whether they have a tablet or some sort of camera that they're going to actually be taking pictures and recording the vehicle. And so this definitely kind of fits in with that, so that the customer has the visual of exactly, hey, that's going on underneath your car, right? You've got an oil leak, your CV boot is torn, whatever it is, right? And that's all documented. And it definitely adds something to for the service writer, right? Trying to sell this work, or trying to say, hey, this is what's wrong with your car. You can see it there. It's not just taking somebody at their word that this component is bad or this thing's leaking. So that's all good stuff. And I'm sure it does help with sales too. Cause you drive through it and then you have the pictures in your email like that. And it's super, super fast. So, that was one of the cool things, how quick it was.
So first of all, like you said, you've seen it, right? You've seen it in a dealership, a Volvo dealership in Minnesota, and I think that there's two main differences versus what you said, versus the tablets and like you said, visual. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? And a video, a picture. You even usually you go to the shop or the dealership, you leave your car. For whatever it is, you go home, after a few hours, you get this video saying, hey, I'm below your car, this is what I'm seeing. It makes sense and it gives you more credibility. But there's a couple of differences here. One, it does require still manual work, and we eliminate that. You don't need to do a walk around, evidence the car for scratches below, or during the inspection go and video it and explain and so on. B, it's consistent. Same lighting, same angles, right? Think of your phone or a tablet, different, lighting areas, different shade of the car, and that could really sacrifice sometimes the image quality and how it comes across. And C or 3, we do it much before. We do it before the write-up at the check-in. So customer comes through, drives through this device, lights are going on, gets out of the car. 3 to 10 seconds later, the advisor is waiting, whether it's on a tablet or on the screen or on a big touch screen or kiosk, which a lot of our dealerships have, and say, well, let's look at potentially what's wrong with your car, or what's going on below, or what's going on with your tires. And your tires are expired, they're 7 years old. According to the OEs, that's a safety hazard. I recommend that our technicians have a second look. Let's talk about it. It's a very different experience than showing it after, and that also really increases the close rate. We see a 91% close rate of customers saying yes to services at an early stage, obviously if there is an issue. So they're buying more services and they're happy to do so because they see it at an early stage and it's consistent. So it does connect to the trend that you're saying, but I think we actually put it on steroids a little bit.
Mm-hmm. This episode is brought to you by AutoRescueTools.com and Isaac Rodell. If you're looking for scan tools, key cutting equipment, programming laptops, Isaac is the guy. Not only does he have an extensive list of all of those things I mentioned, his support after the purchase is top notch. I bought my Dolphin key cutting tool from Isaac several years back, and he has helped me out every step of the way. Anything that I needed on this thing, I didn't quite understand. If I had an issue with it, I needed something additional. He was easy to get a hold of and helped me out with that. So I highly recommend that you check out his website if you need anything related to keys, scan tools, diagnostic equipment. And again, that's AutoRescueTools.com. The link will be in the show notes. This episode is brought to you by AutoRescueTools.com and Isaac Rodell. If you are looking to get into module programming, but you are not sure what kind of laptop you're going to need or how to set it up for programming, Isaac is your guy. He can set up laptops specifically to do control module programming for specific brands with partitioned hard drives and all the software that you're going to need to do this. He also sells key cutting equipment, scan tools, and other diagnostic equipment. I bought some stuff from him in the past, and the support is phenomenal. So I highly recommend checking out the website. Again, that's autorescuetools.com. The link will be in the show notes. You mentioned the technician shortage. That's definitely been talked about. Definitely a thing. It is tough to find technicians out there right now. Do you got any insight or an opinion as to what's driving that in the field? There's a lot of different opinions out there, and I'm always curious to know what somebody's perspective is on it. Even somebody that I don't know if your formal background is the automotive industry, right? Like I was a technician. I was, doing the work on the cars, and so I have that perspective. I'm always interested to hear other people's though.
Yeah. No, let's put it this way. My background is definitely not automotive. I've been in startups for now close to 16 years, co-founding companies, okay. and at UVeye now for since 2018. And all of the partners at UVeye, or I would say the founding partners from Israel, we don't come from automotive, but we try to stay humble and learn. I think that, I'm not sure the technician issue is not only an issue in the automotive industry. I think in a lot of more traditional industries that, kind of got sometimes reputation of being a profession for people who are of older age or less tech focused, and with everybody going into the high tech world. And I think that obviously there's some trends around that. I do think that actually the shortage is an opportunity, though. I think that the consciousness of it, or at least of dealer principals and OEMs and people that we speak with, is going towards improving the pay and improving kind of the conditions and investing. I know of I think Northwood Academy, right? That's kind of a school that a lot of automotive folks go to, and I think they're doing great things. So and a couple of other technician schools that we've been in touch with. I think actually this generational kind of crisis maybe is something that 5-10 years from now would encourage a lot of young folks to actually get into it and be pursued. And especially when you're adopting technologies like artificial intelligence and modernizing the way the technicians work, make it more efficient. I mean, people who love cars are still they're always going to love cars. They always want to know how it works and what's going on.
Yep.
I don't know what's going to happen.
They're always going to be broken, so.
Yeah, they're always going to be broken. I mean, with EVs, it's also a different story, right? What's going to happen with fixing EVs, but yeah. So I think it's quite a natural kind of thing, but I think it's getting better, or it will get better. I hope, at least.
Yeah, I think some of it's on a pendulum, where we'll swing back the other direction. Eventually, it's just how long is that and what happens in the midterm. But like you mentioned, it's a great opportunity for somebody who does enjoy doing this, that's good at it, has a passion for it, and you can go out and make a ton of money and have all the work that you could want to do. And that's, I know for a lot of techs out there and shops out there right now, it's like they've got all the work that they could ever want, and they're turning stuff down because it's like they can only take on so much, which, that wasn't always the case, right? When I started in this industry, you were fighting for job positions and you were fighting for work. But the last few years, especially, COVID kind of exacerbated it, but there's so much to do and so many broken cars, and everybody's so desperate to get their stuff fixed too, right? Like, people are hesitant to go buy that new vehicle because it's twice the price it was 8 years ago. And so they're going to fix their old stuff. And so these shops are just completely full. So yeah, a lot of opportunity, and the technology that's, around vehicles, right? Not even just in the vehicles, like you said, but the tools we're using, the resources we're using in order to diagnose and fix them. I think that can draw in a different kind of person than, somebody who's just doing steering, suspension, brakes, things like that, right? And we need that. And there's people that are good at that and want to do that. And that's fantastic. But we need a whole nother person for the technology side of the car, right? I have a business where that's kind of centered around that, right? I'll go to shops and I'll help them out with diagnostics and programming and doing calibrations and things like that. And I was like, well, it's automotive technology services, right? And I was kind of thinking back, I'm like, man, I should have named my business that. I didn't when I came up with it, but I might change it in the future. But it's like automotive technology services, right? That's going to be a whole thing, I think, going forward in the future, because expecting one shop to do everything, if they're not a dealership, right? Maybe a dealership can do it all for one brand, but if you're going to work in the independent on all makes and models, like trying to do everything is just crazy. And so you almost need somebody to specialize in that technology side of things. And that I think will draw in a different kind of person and hopefully brings more people back into the industry. But how long that'll take,
Yeah,
I don't know.
but you're actually kind of strengthening even, I think, the need for technology like UVeye and like other kind of AI based tools, because it's not only we don't replace people, it's we, you say that technicians today and shops today give up on work because they have so much, or basically have all the works they need and more. So if we could take away tedious tasks and things which are not fun to do and less important and less consistent, and have that technician focus on the real stuff and actually fixing things, that would free up a lot of unnecessary time and enable more work, more money, quicker turnaround times for customers. I think everybody will be more happy.
I got a couple of questions around AI. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of research. I just presented a class on it recently, but couple questions on that. Where do you see it being utilized potentially in the automotive world, other than the things that you were talking about with your company? Like, what other areas of the vehicle could it be applied to in order to assist the technician or the customer, or both? And also with that in mind, are some of these things that we're having it do for us potentially going to take away from our skill sets, or maybe make us lazy in certain areas? That's a question that I've had as I'm learning about all the different things that these things can do.
Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of aspects here. There's more retail and customer facing kind of customer experience tools, or enhancements that could happen from AI. But actually, one fascinating thing, which I think, and we're seeing it when we work with fleets, and as I said at UVeye, we just announced last week we are rolling out through hundreds of sites with Amazon for all their last mile delivery fleet, and that is a lot around predictive maintenance. And I think one of the biggest things for technicians. So imagine you're at the shop, and whether it's UVeye or any other kind of diagnostic tool, and you see an issue, you see a leak, you see something broken, you see something that is, not the way it should be. And imagine you have a hologram or a picture or a fast forward trend machine saying in the same model, in the same make, in the same year, fast forward, if you don't fix it now, this is what's going to happen. So almost, researching big data and kind of analyzing, and by that also reverse engineering kind of mechanical issues, and potentially even avoiding recalls that way. But that's on a higher level. But I think even for the technician level and the customer level, saying, well, you could fix it now, this is what it means, but if you don't, this is for sure what's going to happen based on data. I think that's a field that's super interesting in terms of diagnostics. And then on the parts side, I mean, kind of helping you stock right, helping you anticipate what you will need. I think that because AI is endless, right? It's the ability to really apply kind of models and recurring trends on something and get some conclusions. I think in the retail space, there's a lot of really good opportunities and a lot of exciting tools. Say less on the technician side, more on the sales side and the customer experience side of things, of tracking behaviors of customers, understanding who they are, understanding which cars they would buy according to their behavior. There's things like equity mining, which is understanding when is the right time you would want a new trade. A lot of tools around that. We see the automotive industry as being super progressive. So I think that from our niche as UVeye, like tools that around diagnostics, predictive maintenance, that will help the technician understand more things with doing less efforts, but also communicating that to the consumer, to the customer. Because traditionally, customers have a trust gap with advisors, with technicians. They think they're being upsold. They think that they're not, being shown everything the right way. And the more we base these things on machines and smart learning machines, say this is what you need and why, and this is what could happen, and this saved you time to even understand that. I think those are really, really exciting.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool possibilities. And some of the stuff on the technical repair side of things too is systems that can take in information from the actual computer systems on the vehicle, right? The different modules and the data networks. And that's something where I know that they can use that data and tie it in with maintenance and predictive faults that are going to occur within the car based off of the data that it's getting from the vehicle, or diagnostics too, right? Like this system, this AI learning system is either built into the computer systems of the car, or it's a program that plugs into the car and takes, a large amount of data, and then it's been trained on, thousands and thousands of vehicles like that. And it can recognize, okay, these are problems, or this is where you need to go as a technician to pinpoint where the issue is, right? And we already have like self-diagnostic systems on cars, but looking at some of the stuff in the future, that can be integrated potentially with these is pretty exciting stuff. But of course, like I mentioned, the question is like, number one, when does it start to encroach on maybe somebody's job, right? A technician that's going to diagnose a car, but where is it making your life easier? I think I don't think it's going to be solely one or the other. I think it's going to do a lot of really good things for people, but there's going to be, some growing pains with it too, right? It's going to remove the need for people to do certain things. And there'll be other things too, where it's taking the need away to really think through certain things, because it's going to do that for you. It's just going to say, okay, this is most likely the problem. Go check this. Okay, cool. Right. Rather than having to actually think through the steps yourself and get to the problem yourself. So there's some good and bad to it, but I find it just absolutely crazy. I did a lot of work with the Chat GPT and the large language models, and just what those can do as far as generating information and organizing information and referencing things. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, there's so much data that we have to take in as a technician and retain and sort through and find, and having a partner there. Boy, that's been pretty cool stuff to play around with. So good and bad. I'm pretty excited about what the future is going to look like.
Yeah, I think that a couple of things you touched are really interesting. If you speak about generative AI and like you mentioned ChatGPT, one of the things we are trying to do from our end at the end of the day, we're scanning, millions of cars, with all the models, all the makes you can imagine. We were installed in pretty much every make there is today. A lot of GM and Volvo stores, because they are good partners of ours, and they have programs for dealerships that want to use UVeye. But besides that, we work with pretty much everyone, and we have these abilities also to kind of filter through really big data. I could tell you today on a certain model or year even or submodel, which tire is most probable to wear out, and not only that, how much quicker it will wear out than others on average. So maybe a technician or an advisor could advise someone to take the right type of tire that will wear out a year later, right? And I think that when it comes to safety, there's no compromise, there's no price on safety.
Sure.
And I think that you talked about the good and the bad around AI. I mean, I want to think we're a moral company. I think there would be obviously sets of laws and discussions and kind of swimming lanes around AI of what's good and what's bad, and that's to come within the years. But I still think at the end of the day, people want human interaction in some form. People want to trust a person. So if even with us, we suggest what the problem is. We don't replace a person to come and say that is the case, and to have a second look or a first look, physical look at it, and verify it and explain and look at it deeper. Again, I think a lot of what we're doing is just changing the inspection process from being subjective to being a scan. So instead of being coming and assuming or being told what might be wrong after a quick look or even a thorough look, but you're being shown a scan. But does that mean you would let a robot treat you? No, but you'd want, you'd be happy to hear about a machine that did a scan than a doctor coming and explaining and treating you. So I think there's a few borders there that have not been crossed in many industries, and I frankly don't think people would want to cross those.
Yeah, we're always going to crave that human interaction in a lot of different aspects, and automotive definitely being one of them. And that's the thing, is like technology has always replaced a need to do something, right? As far back as we go, right? Like, I don't need to go out and hunt my dinner anymore. That's not a skill set I need. You go back a couple hundred years, I probably needed that, right? That I could have died if I didn't have that skill set. Well, I don't need to do that, but that frees up my time to do other really cool things, right? Things that had I lived 200-300 years ago, I would have never been able to focus my energy on what I do now. And so maybe the stuff that I do really now, or that you do really now, is really, really cool and really benefits people, but you wouldn't have had the time to do that if technology hadn't taken care of some of these other things for you. And so that's another, I really do look at it from both ways, but that's one thing I'm considering is like, okay, it does maybe take away, or it will take away a lot of the monotonous things, like, maybe a vehicle inspection that, just eat up time and are very routine and repetitive, and you don't have to put, a ton of creative thought into to do these things. It replaces that. So now, okay, well, your time is freed up. What value can you bring with that now that you have that opened up? And that's that. To be more on the hopeful side of things, I think that's a really big potential of a lot of these different AI systems that are being introduced.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I'm actually really curious. I mean, I think we had a chat before, and then before our chat today, you also, as I said, went to go see a UVeye system in Minnesota, right? And you drove your car through. And it's being an expert and obviously, your experience in the industry, just out of interest, how did it feel to you? I mean, what did you make of that experience? What did you think?
Well, it was pretty cool. I would say when we first drove through it, I didn't realize like how quickly that it was gonna happen, right? You literally just pull through this thing, there's some lights, and then that's it. In my head, again, I didn't really have anything to compare to. I was expecting it to be, something like where you're going through a car wash, like really slowly, but that wasn't it. You just drive right through. So that part of it was pretty cool. And then, yeah, like I said, having that visual as soon as the vehicle's in there, my first thought was like, wow, really wish I would have had this as a technician when that lady was telling me that I chipped her windshield, and I know that I didn't. that was, and that's a technician perspective, right? That was what popped up in my head first, is like, hey, and I mean, I do that now with vehicles. When I go to program a control module, we'll do a pre-scan on the vehicle. We'll scan the whole vehicle through the OBD2 ports. This is like module stuff, diagnostic codes, what's in the ABS, what's in the computer. And I save that, and there's a timestamp, and there's a VIN number and a mileage, right? And then we do it afterwards too. And on my end of things, I'm not doing the physical repair anymore, but I'm doing electrical work, I'm doing programming work, and I have to have something to prove to my customer that, hey, this was the state of the vehicle when I arrived, here's the timestamp, and here's the state of the vehicle after I'm done, here's the timestamp. And we don't always need that, but the times that I do, it's been a lifesaver, because I've had a couple shops come after me, say, hey, this problem wasn't there. You guys must have programmed this in, or you guys did something wrong with your programming. And I have the PDF, and I can just show them, nope, it's right there. That's it. We're done with that conversation. And, so on the vehicle damage side of things, and like at Firestone, we did a lot of tires. So like rims too. That was the other thing. You put a scratch in our rim. Just having that, to just show, hey, this was there before. Or again, like I mentioned, hey, maybe it wasn't. Maybe there's times like I didn't even realize that I scratched something, or caused some little damage to the vehicle. And so it's okay. Hey, we got to eat that. We got to take care of that. That definitely was not there before. This lady's not crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you're actually touching a really cool kind of, use case, or something that some of our dealerships and shops do, is they drive the vehicle before and after. So they drive the vehicle when you come in, and then they scan it after. And when the customer comes in, or after, or whether it's even on email or phone, they say, well, this is how you came in, and this is how your underbody or your tires look now. And that credibility, that aids a lot.
Sure. No, that totally makes sense. What do you see as far as the future of your company, as far as developments or add-ons or new technology that you might shoot for?
So, we're really in scale mode. I mean, we are now installing literally every week in dozens of dealerships. We've got a very big kind of list of hand raisers that are waiting and getting their systems, and that's very exciting. I think in terms of the actual technology, we just keep improving it to the different roles of the dealership. We are adding a dashboard for a used car manager, or for the BDC in marketing, to look at missed opportunities. Someone came in, they had just for the car wash, they had a leak below, they went back home. Let's alert the BDC that scan wasn't opened, and have them call them back in and have the technician have a look. So we're adding all these process tools to all the different departments, including technicians. I think that one of the exciting things we want to do is have technicians help our AI, and have technicians actually, today they can verify if something is wrong or right in terms of the scan, but maybe even suggest kind of issues that we missed. So I would want technicians to help make the system better, and tell us, well, this is actually an issue, or this is something that we missed. So that's kind, of product development that we are continuously looking to improve. And I think the last aspect is around the actual innovation. So obviously electric vehicles, we want to be able to have other sensors to look inside the battery in certain ways and see what's going on with the different cells. Are they hot? Are they cold? Is there any kind of charging issue? Is there any kind of maybe any kind of danger that this battery, might catch fire?
Sure.
So we're looking at all the innovation tools to diagnose more aspects of the vehicle. We know how to connect to the OBD and the opcodes of the vehicle today. We know how to give even an interior shot. But whatever we can, grab more information from suspension, more things around frame damage, and angles that are a bit difficult to brake pads, things that are a bit difficult to visually see in just one quick scan. We're interested to keep improving and find ways to expose those and add them to the report.
Cool. I like it.
Great.
Do you got anything else that you would like to touch on before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I'll just say a word of gratitude. I'm in the States we are in the States for a few years now. Gratitude to the industry for being accepting of new technologies and foreign investments and foreign talent working with alongside traditional people. I think that in general, the relationship, the economical ties between Israel and the United States are fantastic, and we really appreciate the partnership, and also specifically in times of tragedy like our country is going back home through. Right up from your current president to people in the industry, partners, dealers, clients, friends. People have been very generous and very caring, and that's heartwarming. At the end of the day, we're all people. So I think that in that respect, I want to pay gratitude to a lot of people in the States for sure, and in the industry.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of good people in the auto world for sure. And so I'm glad you've definitely met some of them. That's cool. So yeah. Thank you for spending some time with me this evening and sharing everything about your company. That's really cool. So hopefully some of the people out there listening have checked this out at a dealership or something, or maybe they have it installed at the place they work. Who knows? So
could be
cool. All right. That's going to do it for today's episode. I'd like to give Yaron one more big thank you for coming on the show, spending some time with me. Really appreciated it. I'd also like to give a thank out to all of you that listen to the show and everyone that's given feedback about the show. I always appreciate that. So keep it coming. Hey, if you want to be on the show or you have an idea for a guest on the show, please reach out. You can do that through the Facebook group or the email that is in the show notes for this episode. Oh, and hey, don't forget, if you want to be entered to win a free t-shirt, all you've got to do is leave a review on Apple Podcasts or leave a comment on one of our YouTube episodes, and you'll be automatically entered to win. We'll announce that at the end of each month, and we'll get that shirt mailed out to you. All right. But with that out of the way, let's get out there, start fixing the world one car at a time.